Oh, I'm Karina. Nice to see you.
Nice to meet.
Recording is running, and please, Corinna.
Okay, so welcome. I'm really just so delighted. Thank you so much, TJ, for the invitation, and for Cedric for being so welcoming. And I'm just delighted to share this contemplation or exploration with you. And then I'm also teaching a class tomorrow at the same time. So that's called Stop, Drop, and Feel, Yin Yoga to Heal Old Hurts. And then Sunday, TJ is going to we're going to do a little interview, which will be 8 a.m. my time. So maybe I'll keep my camera off. I'm just kidding. So my name is Karina Benner, and I have a website. It's karinabenner.com, which is COR. I can put that in the chat. Please feel welcome to reach out to me. Yeah, about all things yin and yoga. I guess, yeah, let's get started by coming to sit. And this is in the lecture room. This is in the workshops and education section. And our conversation is around yoga for sure, and about Buddhism. So we'll do some yoga poses if that's okay with you. You have the choice always to decline. But I have found there is such a deeper level of learning when the body is also involved, that it's not just conceptual, not just intellectual, but we come to our bodies to learn and to feel what is true. Yeah, like we use in English anyway, we use language like, oh, that makes sense to me, or come back to your senses. And there's a belief, I think we mean come back to your intellect, come back to reason and logic, but your senses, of course, are what you sense through your organs of perception. So your senses are really what you know in your body. And so learning in the body, for me, has great merit. So for now, go ahead and take your seat. I always recommend sitting on something. A block, a blanket, 2 blocks. Sit up so that your hips are higher than your knees, so that your spine can sprout toward the sky like the stem of a flower. Allow your shoulders to roll up and back and down. Turn your palms down on your thighs. Let your hands be somewhere between your knees and your hips, so your elbows can just do a free fall right out of the armpits. For a few moments, go ahead and close your eyes. Relax your jaw. Soften your tongue. The insides of your cheeks. Imagine you could broaden your nostrils and your throat to allow for a greater ease of inhaling and exhaling. And go ahead and soften the belly. Soften the belly. Inhale, receive the breath deeply. Exhale, sigh. Please bring your hands into prayer, uniting the left and right sides of your body, which we could see as uniting the yin and yang aspects of your being. The parts of you that you gladly share with the world, the things that are obvious and changeable, the parts of yourself that are more mysterious or hidden, or that you may not choose to share. In this way, bringing the totality of who you are into the moment. Let the thumbs rest against your sternum. As the sternum rises, the fingers splay forward like the rays of your own inner light. Lift your heart and bow your head, and just for a moment, contemplate for yourself. What do you believe is the ultimate goal of yoga? your ultimate aim or aspiration, the ultimate goal. Maybe we could say yoga and meditation. Maybe we could say yoga and the path of yoga, the path of Buddhism. How do you
Karina, you're muted. You're muted.
How long have I been muted?
Like maybe a minute and a half.
That's so weird.
Sorry, it was my fault.
Oh, okay.
That's,
No problem. No,
life happens. I'm very sorry.
no worries. No worries. That explains the mystery. So bring your hands into prayer and lift your heart and bow your head. Here, Anjali Mudra is an offering, and you are uniting the left and right sides of your body. You are uniting the yin and yang aspects of your being. You're bringing the totality of who and what you are into the present moment, into the light of your acceptance and unconditional love. No part of you has to be hidden. No part of you has to be shunned, banished. You welcome all of who you are onto the mat, onto the cushion. Maybe discovering that yin and yoga and meditation are less about self-improvement and more about self-realization, self-discovery. If you'd like to join me in chanting the sound of Om together just one time. Om for me is representing the eternal dance of impermanence, reminding us that every single moment of our lives is fresh and new, arising, abiding, and dissolving, that there is nothing to hold on to, that there's nothing we can keep. And yet this dance of impermanence is supported by something that is eternal, the eternal dance of impermanence, which may be another way to say life itself. And so if you'd like to join me in chanting the sound of Om, please do. I'm not a great singer. This isn't a performance, but maybe a way to connect with one another through the continents, through the time zones, through the ages. So inhale if you like. Go ahead and release your hands down. And you can have your eyes closed or your eyes open. Simply be here. Whatever that means to you, pay attention to your breath. Awake to what is revealed to you through your senses in your body about the present moment. And be alert for the moment that the mind might shift from enjoying the experience to commenting about it, judging it, measuring it, wondering what's next. And the moment you notice that happens, come back to the experience of now revealed to you through your senses in your body. Notice if there's a sense of ease or relief, like you just got here. And then when the mind starts to wander again. So as we move through this conversation, be attentive to that. Be attentive to when you are attentive, when you are fully present, engaged, and when there is what seems like a buffer between that which is experiencing and that which is experienced. When there's a commentary. So let's go ahead. If you have a place to lie down and put your legs up the wall, do that. If it's just the edge of a sofa or a bed, that's also okay. My hope is that I'll get you to just do some very simple yin yoga poses and tease out some of what I hope to share. So you may or may not have heard, learned, read, studied that after the Buddha attained enlightenment, irreversible and complete enlightenment, his first official teaching was to 5 monks that had been his disciples before. And these 5 monks were really attentive to Gautama, the Buddha. But when they saw him eating like milk rice, which might be like ice cream, they decided he was giving in to his senses, he was abandoning the path, and they shunned him. And it's pretty interesting to consider that what he realized was that asceticism and denying the body was not going to lead to complete and irreversible enlightenment. So when he finally did realize the ultimate truth, and he came to share, these monks, they saw him and they didn't necessarily want to listen, but thought, well, we'll listen a little bit, or maybe they listened with critical ears. And his first teaching, he said, these are the 4 noble truths. And the fact that he used the word noble is actually a big deal. It might not mean that much to us in our contemporary times, but back when class systems were much more rigorous or rigid, the idea that he would say these are noble truths, it's implying a nobility that is inherent to one's humanity. These are 4 noble truths, and these are truths about the human experience. So his first teaching was, and translation is everything, but life is suffering. Life is suffering is how it has been transmitted, how it has been translated. So sit with that for a moment. The Buddha's first teaching is life is suffering. I encourage you always, whenever you learn, whenever you hear something, when a teaching is transmitted to you, as yogis, we are not meant to believe anything. We are meant to take it in and test it out in the laboratory of our own experience. So a few more breaths with your legs up the wall. If you're just joining, I've invited people, if that feels good, to lie down and put the legs up the wall. And just notice, you've been here for a few minutes, some of you. Does the pose that starts out as a joyful experience turn into something less than, or maybe anguishing, maybe uncomfortable? Okay. So let's inhale here and exhale. If you're at the wall, I encourage you to now cross your right ankle onto your left knee and start to bend your left knee to the degree that feels good or appropriate or breathable. So you know you're targeting the right outer hip. If you're not at the wall or don't have a wall, you could certainly do this lying on your back, right ankle, on left knee, hands laced around the left thigh. If there's another or a different hip opener that you'd prefer to do, help yourself. So I think a few people have just clicked in. Welcome. I'm really happy that you've joined us. I've offered the possibility to lie at the wall, cross the right ankle, bend the left knee. And everyone is contemplating this first noble truth of the Buddha that says life is suffering. Now, I have to say, the first time I heard this, I might have been in my 20s. I don't know. I think I thought, that's not true. That's not true for me. And depending on how you understand the word suffering, you might decide that that is not your experience. And so there may be a problem with translation. So the word that the Buddha used is dukkha. Dukkha. So we can translate dukkha to mean suffering. Some say, another way to say it is, life is dissatisfying, or life is unreliable. It's been told that the word dukkha itself actually means bad hole. And it refers to the hole in a wheel that the axle would go through. So if you imagine times of horse and buggy, carts people are riding in, the hole of the axle will determine the comfort of the ride. So a bad hole infers a bumpy ride. And so I really appreciate that a lot. Like, life is a bumpy ride. Life is dissatisfying. Life is unreliable. We can't make it work out. We can't make all of the pieces of the puzzle stay together. We can put them together, and then they are dispersed again. Or the satisfaction of getting them all together doesn't last. And so the Buddha's first noble truth is life is suffering. Now, recently I read a translation that instead of the Buddha having uttered life is suffering, he simply said there is suffering. In life, there is suffering. That feels really, for me, that feels a little easier to swallow, like life itself includes suffering, dissatisfaction, a bumpy ride. This is part and parcel of being human. We can't avoid it. We can't arrange our lives in such a way that we will be immune to it because of impermanence. Because we can't always be with whom or what we love. Because we do not know what the future holds. There's panic or uncertainty about what might be coming. For all of these reasons, this is the unpindownableness. Now, the Four Noble Truths, essentially, there is suffering. We talk about the root of suffering. We talk about the end of suffering, and then the path to lead to the end of suffering. But you can't address suffering if you don't believe you're experiencing it. So what is your experience? Okay, let's inhale here and exhale, sigh. Go ahead and put both of your legs back up the wall. If you're on your back, release both feet to the ground. If you're in some other configuration, use parts of the body you haven't just used, parts that haven't just been opened to help you get out of the pose, and take, let's say, 3 breaths. Okay. We will, as you are ready, change sides. So maybe if you're at the wall, you'll bend the left knee, place the left ankle on the right knee, and start to bend the right knee. And then, of course, the other iterations of that shape come into the shape that helps you open your outer hip. And since you might be in for a lot of external hip opening this weekend, just recognize you don't have to go to your edge. And if you prefer not to practice the poses while I'm talking, then listen. So my meditation teacher is a man named Michael Carroll, and you can find him. His website is awakeatwork.net. He's written a book, Awake at Work, The Mindful Leader, and Fearless at Work. He's written these 3 books. When I used to have a yoga studio, I had a yoga studio for 18 years here in Philadelphia. He used to come to my yoga studio and teach meditation for 4 weeks. A Buddhist meditation, but really just the straight dose about what's really going on here. And I listened to him every year, 18 years. And every year, same subject, I understood it in a different way, or he said it in a different way. And so he would say things like, life is unreliable. Or he'd say, have you noticed? It's just not working out. No matter how hard you try, you can't keep it together. You can get it together, and then it falls apart. Or you can get it together, but then how that feels isn't what you want anymore. But the 1 year, he talked about some aspect within the field of consciousness that is finding the present situation to be somehow insufficient. That there is some aspect of consciousness that feels entitled to a different experience. Waiter, I'd like a different experience, please. And then we might spend an awful lot of our energy trying to recreate the present moment, trying to make it look like this idealized version we have about it. And then we get angry or frustrated or sad, despairing and anguishing, because the idealized version of reality we have concocted in our imagination is not meeting the experience that we're having in our body. And so suffering, what is the cause of suffering? When you discover that you are dissatisfied, when you find the present experience to be insufficient, what is the source? What is the root? And so sinking here and opening and feeling your breath. And maybe asking yourself, how does this conversation relate to yin yoga? So maybe some of you might be brand new to yin, and others have been practicing yin for a really long time. I'm so excited to see some people keep clicking in, so I'm really happy and welcoming you. If you're just clicking in and you want to come into an external hip opener for a few more breaths, you can do that. Oh, so when you first come to yin yoga, you can become aware of an almost panic, an underlying panic as you sink into the shapes. Let's inhale here and exhale, sigh. If you're at the wall, put your legs back up the wall. If you're on the floor, go ahead and release your feet to the floor. If a small gesture, wiggling your feet or rocking your head or swaying your knees, if some small gesture feels really inspired, then abide that intuition. So let's go ahead and if you're at the wall, once again, I'd love to offer something to help target your inner thighs. If your space allows for like a wide angle with your feet, do that. If it feels better to bring the soles of your feet to touch, you can do that. If it feels better to wiggle a little bit away from the wall, turn your toes out, letting the inner thighs open, do that. And of course, if you prefer to come away from the wall, that's always an option. So when you first come to yin yoga and you sink into the poses, they can be really intense. They can be really challenging. And the anguish that you experience can be a lot more than just physical. Okay, good. So the anguish can be much more than physical. In fact, as you sink into the shapes, as you are practicing being still and surrendering and letting go, a low-grade fear keeps showing up. What should I be doing? Where is this going? Am I doing it right? And of course, we want to stay safe. You don't want to injure your body. You never want to injure yourself in yin yoga. But the experience of sinking into the shapes, of simply being who and how and where and what you are in the moment, rather than continuously striving for some ideal of perfection that's always just out of reach, is giving you an opportunity to be with the moment. To be with what is actually occurring in real time. So in yoga and meditation, you keep coming back to your body, using breath and sensation. Sensation, again, that which is revealed to you through your senses, through your organs of perception, about the present moment. You keep coming back to your body. You keep coming back to now. Your body is always only now. And by dropping the projections you have, the demands and expectations and opinions that you project continuously upon the situation, upon the moment, upon reality. As you work to drop expectations, demands, judgments, opinions, you come into a visceral, raw, and wild experience of life itself without embellishments. And so it has been suggested that the experience we are seeking, maybe through yoga, through meditation, maybe all of our pursuits, seeking some experience of wholeness, seeking happiness or joy, seeking a sense of ease, that we keep pursuing these, this, chasing after it. My teacher might say that we are speeding past the very experience we are seeking. Caught up with perpetual motion, momentum, taking us further and further away from the very experience that we are craving and are seeking. It has been said, just a few more breaths here, it has been said that, so samsara you might know as the wheel of suffering. Samsara is we're wandering all the time, craving after different experiences, filled with anguish and sorrow, the world of suffering. That we are in samsara when we become, if enlightenment is part of your understanding, to be enlightened, to be awake, to be fully realized, to see the truth, however you might understand that experience. The moment you become realized, the moment you achieve, you call it nirvana, call it enlightenment. In that moment, you are in the exact same place you were when you were in samsara or suffering. So the experience you are seeking is already here. It's already here. And through yin yoga, maybe you get the chance to slow down enough to cut the speed and the momentum of the mind that is always questing after a different experience, and come back to the one you are already having, to maybe know it for the first time, to get curious about what is actually occurring before I have a demand, a label, before I have an expectation of it. What is actually going on here before I conceptualize? Let's inhale. And exhale. If you're at the wall, it might be really helpful to use your hands to lift your legs back up. Put your legs up, maybe wiggle them around a little bit. So I'd love to offer a little twist. Go ahead and, if you're at the wall, bend both knees. Turn your feet to the left and walk your feet down the wall. Your left hand can come to the top thigh. Your right arm can be like a T or a goalpost. Turn your gaze to the right if that's okay. If you're not at a wall or don't have a wall, that's okay. Knees to your belly, both knees to the left. Right arm like a goalpost or like a T. Look over the right shoulder. The root of suffering, they say, is ignorance and craving, and a continuous reinforcement of the idea that I have of myself as a separate individual. The path to relieve suffering is the Eightfold Path of Buddhism. We could say it's mindfulness, it's meditation, it's a continuous discerning and parsing out the truth. Inhale here and exhale, sigh. If you're at the wall, walk your feet back up the wall. If you're on your back, draw your knees back into your belly. As you're ready, turn the toes to the right, walk the feet down the wall. Or simply let the knees drop to the right, right hand on top, left arm out like a T or a goalpost. Turn your gaze to the left if that's okay. Continuously attentive to. So there's the concept of that which is experiencing. Call it yourself, call it awareness, consciousness. And that which is experienced, the phenomenal world, sensation. And then maybe there's a buffer between, there's commentary, judging, measuring, comparing. And the moment you notice that you're judging, measuring, comparing, notice that that is a barrier between experiencer and experienced, and see if you could drop it and come back to an embodied experience of now. Inhale and exhale. Go ahead and draw your knees back into your belly, walk your feet up the wall. I would love to offer a few moments of a shavasana for you to integrate the physical practice, and then we'll come back up to sitting. But make your way into something like shavasana. If you like a blanket rolled under your knees, do that. I say come away from the wall if that's okay, if that resonates with your knowing, so that you could put the body in something much closer to neutral, so that you're not giving the body new information, so that it can actually find a home and make good with the information you've already given it. And come back to the suchness of the experience you are having, not striving for a different experience. Come to appreciate things that you might otherwise regard as mundane or ordinary. The feeling, the cushion of the sticky mat under your heels. The feeling of fabric on your skin. The way that the skin of your belly rises as you inhale to contact the inside of your shirt. And the space that is revealed as you exhale and the skin drops away. A sense of taste in your mouth, scent on the air in the room or the space you occupy. Sound as vibration. Imagine that you could drop your agenda, drop your demands, and open up to the life that is revealing itself through you. Allow your breath to deepen and lengthen. Perhaps with a quality of playfulness or whimsy, you can wiggle your fingers and toes, rock your wrists, ankles. Maybe stretch your arms overhead if you like, give a little wiggle. Draw your knees into your belly, roll into a little ball on your right side. Pause there. Feel the fullness, the richness, and the suchness of the experience you are having. And go ahead and build your way back up to sitting. Sit on something, sit on 2 blankets, a meditation cushion, a yoga bolster, some blocks. Sit upright, close your eyes, relax your jaw. And simply notice all there is to notice. Notice how you are, how you feel, what's happening in your field of consciousness. Go ahead and open your eyes. If anyone does anyone have a comment or anything you'd like to share, a question, anything that I could be helpful, or just a dialogue? Sometimes Buddhism gets gets a bad rap. People say like it's just a Debbie Downer, but it's actually a path to ending suffering and discovering the inherent perfection that exists beyond duality. And honestly, I see so many connections between what I know of yoga, the Yoga Sutras, and what I know of Buddhism, and how everything is pointing in the same direction.
I have a question.
Please.
Have you like always taught Buddhism mixed with your yin classes, or have you kind of slowly made that like connection, or is this something kind of unique in how you teach?
Oh, that's really a great question. It's so hard to know. I will say this is the first time that I ever like sort of said publicly that I was going to discuss Buddhism in terms of yoga. So I was like, oh, I don't hope my yoga stop. I mean, I've been teaching meditation for many years, Buddhist meditation. I think my classes are often a blending of Buddhism and Yoga Sutras. I think that the Yoga Sutras, the way I relate with them, map on really nicely to what I know of Buddhism. So maybe my whole, and my root teacher, my vinyasa root teacher, is a longtime Buddhist. So I think I was raised with these two languages. But is there something underneath your question, or like a question under the question?
Well, I just love Buddhism, and I've never seen a yin class that was basically paired with it, almost like a wine with cheese, like perfectly like one on top of the other. And it was so nice because it was like each pose was kind of just like, okay, you've heard a little in this pose, now we'll just flip to a different. It was like a bunch of cats just hanging out hearing about Dharma.
Oh, I love it. Well, I'm glad that was your experience. Thanks so much, TJ. Yeah, thank you. So yeah, I do. We even stitch this stuff in all the time. And some people, I have been accused of talking too much during yin yoga. So
I think it depends on what people's interests are. Like I could have listened to you talk endlessly about that stuff. So thank you.
What a pleasure. Thank you.
We have a few more minutes left if anybody has any other questions. I know someone asked for your website again, and I think someone else put it in there, CorinaBenner.com.
It's CORINA, yeah, CORINA, Benner, BENNER.com. And you can find me on Instagram and on Facebook.
Wonderful. Does anyone else have any other questions? In about 5 to 10 minutes, there's going to be another class in here. So if you're interested in staying for the next class, I believe that's with Cedric, Establish Your Sankalpa, Yin Yoga as a Practice to Align Your Heart Desires. So a nice follow-up workshop. Yeah, does anyone else have any other questions for Corina? Who, if you came in late, she's my Yin teacher, one of my Yin Yoga teachers who I trained with. So I'm so grateful to have her here. And she said at the beginning, and I'll just repeat, she has a class tomorrow, a different class offering. And then on Sunday, I'm going to be interviewing her. So that's going to be a lot of fun. I'm really looking forward to that.
I don't have the opportunity to write, just to talk. And I want to say thank you very much for this. Yes, it was this talking to accompanying the poses, and I loved it very much. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much, Patricia. It was really lovely to meet you.
Yeah, thank you.
Our paths cross again. Stay well.
Yes.
I have a question.
Great.
So it's my first time experiencing yin yoga, and I just and the couple of sessions that I took today, I just realized that yin yoga is all about. I'm me personally right now, and I'm experiencing a couple of like I'm feeling this tension or like something that resistance. Yes, that's the
Yeah,
word. A
good.
resistance.
Mhm.
While those poses are just very very slow, and it's like this frustration, and like how do I let go of this, or how do I stay within all of this?
Thank you so much. That's a great question. And congratulations for making your way to Yin Yoga. And I
Thank you.
admire you for like jumping full in on a whole weekend or whatever you're doing. But it's great. And it's great for you to recognize your resistance. And, you know, resistance is part of the practice. We can't imagine that I'll practice it when I don't have resistance, because we have to go through the resistance. Like there's maybe just like the Buddha said, life is suffering, or there is suffering. We can't imagine there shouldn't be resistance. So there's, you're not doing something wrong, and in fact you get to meet your resistance and be with your resistance and get curious about your resistance. Like what is it in the mind that wants continuous speed? What am I resisting dropping into? What has my life of perpetual motion been actually designed to prevent me from knowing or feeling or experiencing within myself? And you don't need to like unpack it all in one session. Just breath by breath, moment by moment, come back to like, okay, I have frustration, and that's probably about the future. Maybe I'm worried about how long will this last. So you just say, I can still be here for now. Like right now, it's okay. The anxiety comes in, most of that is like sort of future oriented. And just to notice how the mind is continuously moving away from this moment. So just continue to redirect yourself back to right now. And don't imagine you shouldn't have resistance. And don't imagine that everyone else is enjoying it. It's actually the first time people practice yin yoga is really, really hard. And sometimes the second time is worse, because the second time you have an idea of what you're getting yourself into. And so you just, instead of jumping into the deep end, you wade slowly. You can tiptoe your way in and be with it. And if you need to come out, and then just get curious, and don't battle yourself. Get on your own side. So the two of you and your resistance, move into the experience. And trust that, you don't need to necessarily always drop your resistance, that your resistance might actually have wisdom to it. So like it's a dance. Does that help at all?
Yeah, that was really really helpful. Yes, thank
Oh,
you.
good.
But the whole point is that the resistance doesn't I don't think that it's really connected to, or like it is in somewhat mentally, but it is about like how the pose is actually a bit uncomfortable, and how I can how do I regulate that with also with my with me trying to come back. So when I tell myself to come back to the moment, it's like all I can realize or all I can notice is how uncomfortable the pose is, and how long it is for me for like how long it is it's gonna take.
Right.
And I think that is an amazing challenge for me to go through, or like to take in.
Yes, it will serve you well,
Yes,
because life, no matter how much you arrange it, no matter how wealthy, how connected, how smart, how beautiful, how creative, no matter what, life will still find its way in to be uncomfortable
right,
and to challenge you. So what you do on the yoga mat could be seen as symbolic or metaphoric for life in the world. You work in
exactly.
a controlled environment. So great. Welcome to it.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. All right, establish your sankalpa. Oh, great. That's amazing. Well, Thank you. Anyone else? I think we have like a minute or 2 minutes.
And we're gonna, for those who have like more questions or are just new to Yin Yoga and have a lot that they want to kind of ask and figure out, we do have a beginner's Yin Yoga course. I think it's tomorrow morning. And we have a panel talk tomorrow that's going to discuss some things. So there's going to be some great opportunities for beginners to learn in a place that's intended specifically for them. Yin Yoga is always very good for beginners in general. But then come to some of the, like the interview with Corinna on Sunday and a lot of these opportunities where we're going to have like open discussions and things with you guys. So really excited for that. And thank you again, Corinna.
I'm so excited. Thank you, TJ. What a delight. What a
Also,
pleasure.
thank you from my side. That
Oh,
was
Cedric.
so
Das ist der, war
wonderful.
gerade dieser Cedric da, der da.
Hallo.
What was that,
Do we have
Cedric? What were you saying?
I just said thank you. That was so wonderful, and you spoke directly to my heart. I couldn't listen to everything because I had to organize, but the bits I got, especially in the beginning and in the end, it calmed me down and it reached deeply. So that is beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you so much. What a pleasure. I look forward to clicking in on some classes and certainly coming back tomorrow and Sunday. Christina Demes, nice to see your face. And I saw Arlene's name. It's amazing.
Yeah, I'm here.
Gorgeous.
That was fabulous.
Of course.
Thanks.